Guys, so it is either the 3rd or 4th of February. It's a Saturday, 2017, and I am getting out to work. It's a little bit late. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, but I was waiting until the sun got up in the sky. As you can see, let's get on out of the truck here. As you can see, I've got a lot of field here I've got to get through today. I've got to get through this field and then my other field, what I call the South 40. It's actually about an acre over there on the south end of the pond. But I don't know if you can see over there where that white thing is over there in the field. That's the other field. I'm gonna try and bush hog it today. So be right back. Okay, looks like we've got a little bit of an issue first thing this morning. As you can see, I've got a flat tire on my tractor, or a flattening tire on my tractor. Now, these tractors use water in their tires, and a lot of guys will have a special attachment to add water into the tires. The thing is, the tire's not leaking water, or else the ground would be wet around it. And usually, I think they only put water in the back tires. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to research that. But, as you can see, these tires are fine. Watch out, roosters. Watch out, I got to get rid of y'all. As you can see, these other tires are fine. So, had to go to the hardware store yesterday, because I've got 4 beautiful children, and 4 beautiful children, tools never stay in place. So I had to buy this, and you actually have to buy this part and this part separately. This is a 1/4-inch female air chuck and a 1/4-inch male quick connect adapter. A little bit of thread tape in there. Always go clockwise when you screw it on, and it won't unwind on you while you're tightening it down. Got that. Got my air compressor. Here it's just a little bitty air compressor. Once I get the air turned on and the tire pumped up, we'll go hook up to the bush hog. This is what I'm up against right this second. 2 identical air chucks and the actual, well, these are the shafts, and this is the chuck itself. I don't know if you can see very well or not. It's still kind of dim out here. Identical, right? Wrong. And this is my mistake. Alright, this is the one over here on the right that I bought from Stone's Hardware. And this is the one on the left that I had inside a air tool that I bought at Harbor Freight. Just a cheap little angle grinder that I bought at Harbor Freight. Now, as you can see, the length of the shaft on this one is a little bit longer than the length of the shaft on the other one. And if you look here, where this bevel is, right above the collet, it is angled more gradually. This is a steeper angle. Well, actually, this is a shallower angle. This is a steeper angle. But there's more material at that collet than the other one. And that's causing it not to chuck into my air hose. So, fortunately, I have this one, and I still have the box and the receipt for this one. So I'm going to take this back to Stone's Hardware and just get my money back for this. And I'll probably pick up 4 or 5 of these when I go over to Harbor Freight next. Harbor Freight is a poor man's pretty good option for stuff like this. These things are made probably in China or Taiwan or somewhere like that. And normally I typically like to buy local or whatever, but stuff like this that's mass produced on that scale, you can't get away from globalization, and that's fine. I don't mind giving some money to China to help them out. I'm sure they need it just as much as America does at this point. However, you do have to pay attention whenever you're going to go to the store, or you're going to pay the price in gas. So that's just today's helpful tip. Okay, I'm sorry for the weird angle here, but I don't have a tripod ready for this. I've got a tripod, I just don't have all the stuff that goes with it. So as you can see, I've got my 2 pieces here, and this one on the left is the one that is not working. So we're going to set that to the side. We're going to take this, we're going to wind it clockwise, and you don't need a whole heck of a lot of thread tape on there. It's called Teflon tape also. You can get it in your plumbing supplies. You need to keep at least 2 or 3 rolls of this around, because you never know when you're going to need it. When you have a plumbing problem on the weekend, this is going to be a necessity. It's cheap, it's pretty much ubiquitous. You can find it pretty much any hardware store anywhere. As far as I'm aware, I've never seen a hardware store that didn't have thread tape. PTFE thread seal tape, mil spec T-27730, 3/4 inch by 260 inches, made in China. It's embossed on the thing. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's all right too. Now, I could just come over here and get in view here. I'll start this. It's really simple. And you don't have to use a socket set. You can use a wrench. This is a 9/16 socket. And you can use a 9/16 inch box wrench. You can use a crescent wrench. You could use another one of these if you needed to. And this is a pair of adjustable pliers. It's got another name, but I can't remember it right off the top of my head. My memory is not what it used to be. But you ain't got to crank down on it real hard, because that thread tape gets in there and seals it. I don't know if you can even see the thread tape around the edges there, but that should chuck up and fit in the tractor, and that will not fit on the tractor, fit in the air hose, and allow me to air up my tractor tire so I can get started this morning. That's the thing about the farm. You can't get in too big of a hurry. When you get in a hurry, you make mistakes. You also have things that come up that are going to delay your plans for the day. You have to budget that into your time. If you're gonna bush hog the field, don't budget an hour for it. Budget in 2 hours or 3 hours, depending on the size of the field, what all you got to do for it, what all you got to do to prepare to get it ready. Preparation is 90% of the work. So, we'll see y'all in a few minutes. Okay, I had to cut the tractor off so you guys could hear what I was saying. And this is what I was talking about, preparation. Here it is. I don't know if you can see that. Listen to the music here. 9:34, and I got out here at 8 o'clock, and I'm just now getting to where I can actually do some work. For my buddy Wan Jockey, it's a lot easier in Farm Sim 2017 than it is in Farm Reality 2017. So what we got here, we have a squealer by Bushhog. I don't remember what the measurements on this deck are. It's 172 inches, I believe. If the model number is to be believed, SQ172. Okay, so I believe it's 172 inches, 172 inches across. This is a traditional 3-point hitch system. It's connected up to the tractor, lifts it hydraulically. And this, of course, is part of the 3-point. That's the second point of connection. And that's the third point of connection. This has no hydraulics in it. You can see it's just attached to the tractor here with a bolt. The lift arms lift it hydraulically. This stabilizes it. And this can actually be lengthened or shortened. It's a turnbuckle is what it is, to level out the deck. I'm not worried about cutting level right now. I'm just worried about knocking all the stuff down. And the reason it took me so long is, now in the fall I came out here and worked on this bush hog. I greased all the grease points, the grease fittings, and I pulled this shaft here, this PTO shaft, and lubricated it. Now the problem is, this particular shaft, there is a point right up in here somewhere where the exterior shaft binds on the interior, and I haven't been able to find that point because I've taken the covers off and I've looked, and it looks smooth. So I think that it may be inside, actually maybe up here on this shaft on the inside where it's binding. Well, what happens is when you take this thing and go to connect it, the shaft just slides to be able to connect to the PTO on the back of the tractor. Now, I've been working out on this farm for 40 years. I have yet to have a tractor that had a PTO shaft that I didn't have some kind of problem with. And this one, if you push it an inch too far, it binds and sticks, and then you can't pull it out with your hand. So what I ended up having to do, those neat artistic little clips that I was taking without talking, I got to the point where it was time to hook up the PTO shaft, and I couldn't move the PTO shaft, so I had to pull it up here and get some strapping and actually unattach the entire bush hog, tie the head of the PTO shaft, this universal here, to the swing arm on the tractor and pull it. A couple minutes work, but then you have to put everything back together. And I ended up, because I'm out here working by myself, typically 3-point hitch is not a problem. The only problem is it's difficult to line it up. I wish I had a quick hitch system. I would love a quick hitch system. Can't afford a quick hitch system. Probably don't need one. But the problem is over here on this side, whenever that turnbuckle or whenever that arm is lined up and connected up, this arm is always too far out here. So I end up either having to lift the implement by hand, which you're not going to do with a bush hog unless you're Andre the Giant, and I am pretty big, but I'm not that big. Or you have to move the tractor and inch it and back and fill, back and fill, back and fill. Well, the problem is this turnbuckle right here has been frozen ever since my father bought this tractor, and when I inherited it, I didn't think anything of it. So I just spent 30 minutes having to detach the shear pin here, or the anchor pin, pulled the shear pin, or hairpin, anchor pin, pulled this U-bolt out of this, and then had to manually spin this, had to get a pipe wrench to put on there because it was rusted and frozen solid. Doesn't look that rusty, doesn't have to look that rusty. This has got to have a little bit of rust in the thread. So what I'm going to do when I get done is either, if I can find some PB Blaster or something like that, WD-40 or something like that, I'm going to spray it up in these threads to help lubricate. And then I'm going to smear some grease on these threads to help protect it once I get everything broken free. But I'm going to have to take, once I get done bush hogging, and I'm probably not going to get it done today, I'm going to take this whole turnbuckle system off and work these off and work it, clean these up probably with a wire brush, and then lubricate them with grease and stuff like that. And that's typical farm work that you got to do, that you put off and you put off and you put off until it affects your work and puts you an hour behind. So as you can see, or maybe you can't, I don't know, we're getting some clouds. We're getting some cloud cover in. Now I have checked the weather forecast for this area, and we're supposed to have a 2% chance of rain today. So it may just be cloudy, but I don't trust a weatherman as far as I can throw them, because they're just guessing most of the time. They do the best they can with what they got, but they can't anticipate every variable that's out there. It's just impossible. So we may get a spot of rain. It is a bit chilly. It's about 50 degrees out here. And my daughter brought me my jacket out. Now I haven't been cold enough to need it because I've been moving around, but once I get on that tractor and get to riding, I'm probably going to get cold. So I think I'm going to put my jacket on here. And then, as you can see, the roosters love to come bother me whenever I'm doing something. They're very self-important creatures, and they've got to be tied up with whatever you're doing. Now, I have something I want to talk about. And I don't know, let me see if I can turn this around. Maybe if y'all, I doubt y'all want to see my ugly mug, but there's something I want to talk about. Laugh at my purple headphones, but they were cheap and they play well. I don't know about anybody else, but I find that when you're interested in something, you show a curiosity about it. You may research it a little bit, and then typically you go on and do whatever other projects you have, whatever hobbies or anything like that. But when you're invested in something, then you're out there busting your hump, doing what it takes, no matter what. There is a difference between being interested in something and being invested in something. Now, there are a lot of people that are interested in the homesteading lifestyle, the prepper lifestyle, the doomsday bunker lifestyle, whatever all that lifestyle is. And I don't want to get into all that because I don't have any interest in all that. I will read some of the articles, but I don't typically frequent the prepper boards or anything like that. I used to be involved in the prepper broadcast and all that, and I was into that big time. And then I got to a point where stuff just started getting real, and I realized that I have very many interests, but only a few things I'm invested in. And now that I'm 40 years old, and now that my mother and my father have passed away and gone on to heaven, I need to stop focusing so much on the stuff that I'm interested in and start focusing on the stuff that I'm invested in, and let everybody else take care of themselves. So I don't know, that's just something that I had on my mind, had on my heart. I don't know if it helps anybody, but maybe it does. Anyways, I'm gonna get out here and get this field done, and we'll come back after a while and show you the progress. Okay, and we're back. It's almost, I don't know, 11:30, 12 o'clock, something like that. So we've been out here about 4 hours this morning, 3.5 hours this morning. I guess an hour and a half, 2 hours, that's actual mowing. As you can see, I've got a lot of work I got to get done on here. I got these trees taken care of and all that, but I got this field bush hogged. We call it bush hog down here because that's the big brand that people buy down here, I guess. It's a brush mower is what it is, a rough cut mower. But it does good enough for what I need it done. I'm not doing finishing mowing. Got this main field bush hogged, and I don't know if you can see Miss Crosby. She's down there at the barn working on the pens, the ducks and the chickens pens, while I'm working on the tractor. But next thing we got to do is the south field. It's much smaller than this. It shouldn't take me but about half the time to get everything lined out on it and get it mowed. So hopefully we'll be done with that, and then I can go eat something. I haven't had anything to eat yet, so I'm gonna have to eat some breakfast here in a little bit. Anyways, we'll be back in a little bit. The southernmost field, as you can see, it's relatively small, about an acre, maybe an acre and a half, with the tree line in there. As you can see, I've got a couple of down trees in here that I've got to get in here and get out. I'm not going to worry about them today. It's something on my list. I also have a failed electrical fence here somebody hit with a tractor, and it was a failed experiment back before I inherited the property. I'm going to end up pulling that out and reusing those T-posts if I can. I'm sure I probably can. But I'll reuse the electrical wire and all that, the hot wire. Probably not for electrical fencing. I'll probably use it for just wiring purposes to tie things together or whatever. But as you can see, there is a slope in the ground, and that causes all of this down here to stay more wet than that back up there. So we're gonna have to use that in our planning for this field. Any crops that are okay being wet, I can garden down here. Anything that not so wet, I can put back there, and they'll be a little bit better. The problem is, see this tree line up here? That blocks out a good bit of the sun for the back half of the field, so we have to plant a little bit closer up, unless you have shade plants that you can plant back there, or shade crops. I hadn't figured out. I want to do fruit trees. I would like to do a couple of plum trees and a couple of peach trees. I've got a pear tree, Kiefer pear, and I think some Bartlett style pears back there on the back fence. But as far as fruit trees, that's all I've got right now, and they're pretty well established. I've just got to prune them up and clean out, weed out, and get rid of the brush out from underneath there. But this field right here is going to be mowed now. As you can see, it's not nearly as bad a shape as the other one. I just got to knock the tall stuff down. So anyways, I'm getting my battery warning, so we'll come back and show you when we're done. Alright, so got done with the south field. It is, see if I can find out the time here. Give me just a second. It is 12 minutes after 12. And so that took just a little, at about 2.5, 3 hours to get everything cut. About an hour, hour and a half of preparation. Preparation really is key. I know, I guess it was often quoted on the internet, but Abraham Lincoln said something about if I had 4 hours to cut down a tree, I'd spend 2 or 3 hours of that sharpening my axe. And I think oftentimes that's misquoted, but and I probably misquoted it too, but I believe that that is a true adage, that if you're going to do something, the bulk of the time should be in preparation, because the better you prepare for what's going to happen on that particular instance, that project, then the better you will be able to perform that project. I didn't have to stop. I didn't have to even get off the tractor one time to get everything mowed. I didn't have to reset my bush hog. I didn't have to get down and tighten anything down. I didn't have to fix any bolts or anything like that, because I had taken time last fall to go over the bush hog and prepare it for when I was going to need it in the spring. And now here it is, February, and is ready to rock and roll. The only difficulty I had was with that shaft, and I will eventually replace that PTO shaft. That's a question of money, not preparation. I just don't have the money to replace that right now. I've got many other projects that I've got to get done, but I was glad to be able to get out and get this one done. And now I've got half the day to piddle around and do what else needs to be done for the rest of today. Get the youngins situated on their chores and things like that. The good woman was kind enough to and thoughtful enough to bring out a sandwich and a Coca-Cola, so I stopped and ate that and take care of my blood sugar and all that, keep that up. And she's been out here working on the chicken pen. I can show y'all what she's been working on out here. Sorry for the bad angle. I don't have a selfie stick or anything. I guess I will eventually get one of those if I'm going to be doing videos. I think the selfie stick is probably a useful thing, but I hate the damn things. So, I guess I'll get to where I will probably use one, because you don't want to look at my nose all the time. So what we've been working on, or what the good woman's been working on today, you can see my crappy craftsmanship here with the chicken, or the chicken pen and the duck pen. But what she's been working on today is she's put out some hardware cloth here, this fine mesh material here, and you can see our Africans in there. That's Lucy, and that's Ricky. He's kind of behind that little windbreak in there. But we had a neighborhood dog get into the pen here, had torn through the wire. Maybe I can take it in here and show you. He had, where we had laced this wire together, sorry about the noise, he had torn through it down here. We had propped a piece of tin up and stapled it together to gotta pay attention to what my fingers are on. Sorry about that. This is my first time really doing much videography. I've done stuff with computers and Let's Plays, but anyways, so she's been out here working on getting that put together to keep the coyotes and the fox and raccoons and neighborhood dogs out. And she has done a jam up job on that. It's nice and tight. It's firm up to the board. So she's been working on that while I've been working out on the tractor. You can see our water collection system here. It rolls right off the end of the barn into these tubs every time it rains and keeps us from having to tote so much water. I would like to, I've got a couple 50-gallon plastic drums, and I'm eventually going to set up a system for watering all these animals out here through rain collection or coming off of my pond pump. I've got a well out on my pond, and I can run as much water as I need to out of there. All that costs me is a little bit of electricity each month. But as you can see, we got done, and I appreciate y'all coming along to help me. I was thinking while I was on the tractor again, and that's the best time to think. I get my music on, my silly purple earbuds in, and get to thinking about, you know, how the investment works. Investment in your time, investment in your ability, investment in your interests and your priorities. And I can get you turned around here again. There we go. Thinking about how people get invested in different things, and that's how they spend the bulk of their time. You know, I see, and I've got good friends, great friends, that are interested in things. They're interested in gardening, or they're interested in computers, that are interested in woodworking, or they're interested in blacksmithing, or, you know, and I'm not talking about any one person or any particular friend or group of friends here. This is people that I've known throughout the years. Good friends that I knew that I could count on, and I could call at a moment's notice. I've learned that people get interested in stuff and say, I want to do this, or I want to do that, or I wanted to do this, or I wanted to do that. And then time goes by and it never gets done. And I'm as guilty of that as the next person. Well, I wanted to get out and get the yard mowed. Well, if I had really wanted to get out and get the yard mowed, then I would have gotten out and gotten it mowed. Some people, most of my friends know that I have dealt with depression since I was about 12, 13 years old. It runs in my family. Dealt with weight issues, overweight. You can see that by looking at me. And I've been thinking, you know, what am I invested in? What is my personal time invested in? And I am not preaching to anybody. I am not preaching to anybody, I promise. But what am I personally invested in? And where am I spending my time at? Where do I store up my treasures? And do I put my investment into things that are going to benefit me, or do I put my investment in things that are going to harm me? And a lot of times I'll get to sitting there, and you know, I'll have a day where I'm just feeling too low to get out and work. This week I had 2 days like that. I was so dang dizzy I couldn't get out yesterday. Couldn't even trust myself to drive to the store and get Drano to pour through the pipes to help free up a clog in the tub. But and I was here by myself and couldn't get out and do that. But that's not the days that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about when you're, you know, incapable or unable, completely unable to get out and get something done. What I'm talking about is those days that you know that you got these projects you got to work on, and you choose instead to do something else, go somewhere and spend money, or go play a video game, or go hang out with your friends, or go do whatever it is that you do to spend your time, rather than getting the thing done that you wanted to get done. Well, I could understand how things get in the way and how other interests take over, but I also know, me personally, if I want to get something done, then it gets done. Even with the depression, with the anger issues and things like that I have to work through, things still have a tendency, things that need to get done, or things that I really am interested or invested in getting done, still get done. And now it's just a case of investing myself in those things that are important, really important to me. It has become important to me. The way I eat, the way I exercise, the way I get out and move, the projects that I'm getting done. And you know, I've gone on a long way here, and this is going to be probably a couple of parts to a video, or a couple of videos, but you know, I can't help but take a minute to expound on these ideas that I had while working on the tractor and still kind of developing in my head. And, you know, this is not a thing to preach to anybody or try and make anybody feel bad or even uplift or inspire anybody. This is just kind of my journal to get my ideas out on video and help me keep a record of what's going on in my head. I've got a lot of stuff that I've got to get done. I'm sitting here looking at one major project right now, doing the barn. I've got a lot of stuff I've got to get done in there, but that's secondary to stuff that, see, I'm interested in getting the barn fixed. I'm just not invested right now in getting the barn fixed. Right now what I'm invested in is getting the fields done. And I understand there are priorities. You have to prioritize. The world doesn't just work in a way that lets you pick your investments and ignore the rest of the world and work on that one thing. And I understand that. I get that. I grok that. But if I'm really invested in something, then I make time for it. I make time for my hobbies. I make time to hang out with my friends. I make time to, you know, call my sister and talk to her 2 or 3 times a week and make sure she's okay. Spend a couple hours on the phone with her and make sure everything's okay in their life. So, yes, if you are invested in things, you figure out a way to get them done or research how to get them done. So, I'm kind of rambling, I know, and that's okay. I appreciate both of you for coming, and I appreciate both of you for helping out. The 2 people that are going to watch this video, I'm sure. But I think that everything is getting better. Oh, for weight loss, back in August, I weighed 460 pounds. Now I'm down to somewhere between 410, 415. It fluctuates, and our scale isn't exact when you put that much weight on it. But as near as I can guess, I've lost about 40 or 50 pounds since September, October-ish. So it's slow, but it's working. And you just have to keep working it. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you guys for coming along. Thank you for helping out. And we'll see you next time. Remember, if you like what you see, take a minute to hit the like button or the thumbs up button. Hit the subscribe. Follow, whatever it is on the video that's down there. If you like what you see. If you don't, thumbs down it. And give me some feedback. Tell me what I can do better. I guess that's it. So, y'all have a great day. Be blessed. And we'll see you next time.